It's 7:03 on Friday, November 8th. We're at 57 degrees. Another mild day today. We're going up to the mid-70s later. Good morning. I'm John Aaron.
I'm Michelle Basch. The top local stories we're following this hour. Ahead of the presidential inauguration, nearly a dozen marches, vigils, and similar events are already set to take place in D.C. WTOP's Kyle Cooper has details on the biggest event and its organizers.
It's dubbed the People's March on Washington, a massive protest that's been scheduled for January 18th, just 2 days before the inauguration. The permit for the event says organizers expect 50,000 people to show up. Who is behind it? The Washington Post reports it's the Women's March, Abortion Access Now, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, and the National Women's Law Center. Of course, the inauguration 2 days later will likely draw an even bigger crowd, and with 10 other events on the books between now and the end of January, that will put a strain on D.C. police and city resources. Kyle Cooper, WTOP News.
As you've been hearing, just days after the election, some people are getting racist text messages claiming the U.S. is bringing back slavery. WTOP's Scott Gelman says people in our area are getting those messages as well.
Holly Holiday lives around here and got one of the messages Thursday.
It basically was repeating language about going back to the plantation.
She's president of the group Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, and says thousands of black women across the country are getting similar texts.
People were not like, oh my goodness, where did this come from? It was more like, wow, this is actually a real thing.
Some people are getting messages telling them they've been selected to be a house slave and to come to a D.C. address. D.C. police tell us their Office of Homeland Security Intelligence is investigating where the message is coming from.
We have a lot of people who have the screenshots as well, but essentially we block and report.
Scott Gelman, WTOP News.
And we have more details on how to report the messages at WTOP.com.
A Park police officer who climbed into the back seat of a stolen car and ended up shooting and killing the 17-year-old driver will not face criminal or civil rights charges. WTOP's Neil Augenstein says it comes after a more than year-long investigation.
In March 2023, D.C. and Park Police responded to a report about a suspicious car parked on Baker Street Northeast. They saw Delano Martin asleep in the driver's seat of what was believed to be a stolen car. Body-worn camera footage showed police strategizing how to get Martin out of the car. When police opened the doors, a Park Police officer climbed in the back seat. Martin woke up and hit the gas with the officer in the car. From the back seat, the officer told Martin to stop, then said, "Stop, let me out." Then he said, "Stop or I'll shoot." 5 shots were fired, killing Martin. Now D.C.'s U.S. Attorney's Office says there's not enough evidence to pursue federal civil rights or D.C. criminal charges against the officer. Martin's family says despite the decision, they'll continue to seek justice. Neil Augenstein, WTOP News.
A driver is charged after hitting and killing a 90-year-old man in Manassas. Prince William County Police say Gary Wilson was walking on the shoulder of Lake Jackson Drive Monday afternoon. There is no sidewalk there. He was hit by a Mercedes Sprinter van and later died. Investigators say it looks like the driver, 68-year-old Russell Corolla, was not speeding but was distracted. He is charged with careless driving.
This is the longest our area has gone without significant rain on record, and it means we're under an increased risk of fire starting this afternoon. Here's 7 News First Alert meteorologist Mark Pena.
Red flag warnings, which are also known as fire weather warnings, are on the forecast later today from the National Weather Service from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. This is because we'll have northwest winds throughout the day at about 5 to 15 miles per hour, as well as some very dry air and very dry conditions. We haven't had rainfall for 36 consecutive days, which is the longest stretch on record, which means drought conditions have worsened and expanded across the area. So be mindful of the cigarette butts, make sure that they're fully extinguished, and also avoid any outdoor burnings today.
Coming up.
Imagine saying bon voyage for more than 4 months. I'm Brendan Hazelton.
Traffic and weather in 30 seconds.